Hey, team players, welcome back to Local Football Flavor, breaking down the fantasy picks. And the reason you guys should care about what we got to say is, long story short, we build league winners. And that's what we do here. We help people win championships. Follow us throughout the season to get your week-to-week questions. But it all starts with building a successful draft. And we're going off of what ESPN is ranking for a PPR league. This is looking at the 11th round as we're recording this here in June. So you can see the names on the screen who ESPN has for their 11th round. And there's a couple of guys I want to put interest on because, first off, we did yesterday's episode or last episode. About half of them I had is just flat out undraftable. I do not have that problem with this list at all. And I think that there's a lot of good value here that probably is going to end up being something worth considering more. In the last episode, I said, don't bother getting a tight end because they're all basically the same. And I believe that Kmet and Dolic basically say this. Looking at Schultz or Evan Ingram from the round before, there really is no drop-off to these guys. Nor will there be drop-off to next rounds or the round after here's. So going all in for a tight end early that's not named Kelsey, I believe is a wasted draft pick for that reason. But specifically dialing in here to the 11th round, there's some people on this list that I think are very interesting, especially if Dalvin Cook doesn't end up on their team. And I want to start with Damien Harris. Right now, he's not listed as the number one running back in Buffalo, and I'm willing to bet by the time the season starts and as the year goes on, he will be. The Bills have recognized that they need to start running the ball more. They are one of the most overemphasized in terms of their production, pass-based teams over the run. And part of this is because they don't even try to run it. And I believe that having Damien Harris on the roster will turn that boat, and it will be highly productive. If I can have Damien Harris on my team as a bench guy from the 11th round, I would walk away from my draft considering it a massive victory. Because everyone else on here, with maybe the exception of Michael Thomas, in all probability is going to end up being just a guy. Maybe Gabe Davis could go off if he doesn't get hurt.
Disagree.
All right, well, then I would like you to tell me where you disagree.
So there's a couple things here that I think are important to mention. Number one, when we were talking about Denver possibly getting a resurgence with Sean Payton, a lot of that's going to deal with Jerry Jeudy, but equally as so is Cortland Sutton.
Fair.
If Russell Wilson is going to air it out, Cortland Sutton was, I think, like 11th in terms of wide receivers in like targeted like air yards, like down the field.
Air downfield, yeah. Like he's a good downfield receiver,
like downfield deep threats, and 22nd, I think, in red zone targets or something like that.
Yeah.
When you look at Cortland Sutton, there's a lot to like. There's a lot of upside there.
Except for the quarterback.
I'm not drafting both Denver players again, like I did last year, thinking that things were going to be great. I'd pick one or the other. Jerry Jeudy's going to cost you a lot more.
He will, yeah.
Cortland Sutton's not. And I think that the name is going to get Cortland Sutton drafted higher than this ranking is. I think he's going to get drafted higher than Jahan Dotson. I think he's going to get drafted higher than a couple of the other players that we mentioned earlier. But I think if you're able to get him in the 10th round, if you're able to get him in the 9th round as a number 3 wide receiver on your team, you're not asking for much. You're asking for 10 points a week, 11 points a week. Cortland Sutton is capable.
Oh, he's capable of giving you an explosion week. He can give you greatness.
Of giving you that.
Yeah.
The other player on this list that intrigues me is Jackson Smith. Lockett's probably going to return to the role that Lockett was in last year.
I believe with that, yeah.
So I think that there could be, Seahawks, they get the ball down the field. And Jackson Smith,
in the first half of the year they did. If you look at Geno's number, they fell off the earth in the second half of the season.
That's true. But, it needs to be mentioned, though, that with Jackson Smith, though, is we need to think about what targets he's going to take away. So is he going to take away from DK? Is he going to take away from Lockett? Where
is he going to earn them? That question by itself needs to be asked.
So he's an intriguing upside player. I think that both Sutton and Smith have a lot of upside to them. Same with Pirine. Pirine for the Broncos, there's a good chance that he starts the season as the starting running back. when he was the starting running back in Cincinnati,
he did put up some good numbers.
He put up really good numbers, and we said we like Denver's offensive line. So,
I said it was one of the most improved offensive lines. I'm not sure I love it yet.
You don't love it yet, but there's a good reason to think that Samaje Perine could do well enough there. And then I look at these other names on this list. All of these names on this list are better than the previous grouping and better than the grouping before that.
That's also true.
Because these other guys that I'm seeing here, Aaron Rodgers, we think the Jets are going to do good enough this year. They're going to improve. We believe in some of the Jets players. Do we believe in Aaron Rodgers? That's something to consider.
No.
The other thing, we dogged on Michael Thomas a lot. Michael Thomas,
I don't think he likes football.
We love Chris Olave. But
yeah, because I think Michael Thomas is going to be a non-factor.
Listen,
part of the reason I love Olave.
Hear me out, though. You're going to let other players in your fantasy league draft Michael Thomas higher than he should get drafted, and you're going to go after Cortland Sutton. You're going to go after Samaje Perine. You're going to go after Damien Harris. These are names that come out to you. The name that I hate on this list, other than just the absurdity of having Greg Dulcich this high, is Gabe Davis.
All right, break down Davis for me.
Okay, Gabe Davis is a player that we saw in our DFS lineups a lot. There's a he has a high upside on a per game basis. There's a good chance that he goes off for 3. There's a good chance he gets nothing.
Yeah, there is.
And so when you're looking in this realm here, Gabe Davis is going to be drafted higher than he should be. He's not going to.
I think here's too high for him.
He's not going to be drafted. He's going to get drafted higher.
Yeah,
he's
he will.
Probably going to get drafted ahead of guys like Deontay Johnson, in the same realm as Treylon Burks, in the same realm as Michael Pittman. People like Gabe Davis a lot.
They like the concept of Gabe Davis more than the actual results. He's like Debo. He's exactly like Debo in that category. They love the name and the hope of him, but when it comes push to shove,
if we look at
it's not consistent enough.
If we look at his,
it's a great DFS player.
If we look at his stats from last year, he missed a game. He missed 2 games. 836 yards, 7 touchdowns on 48 receptions. Okay. Yeah. He had 1 game above 100 yards, and that was the game against the Steelers where the Steelers
tore him up.
Didn't have a defense. And then he had a game of 93 yards and a touchdown, 15 yards and a touchdown, 45 yards and a touchdown. So his upside, people think that he's super high upside, but he's not.
There needs to be a caveat with him, though. Allen was hurt and didn't push the ball downfield as much last year as he had in the past. So Gabe Davis, and this is where you get into trouble with Davis specifically. People are going to go, well, yeah, Allen was hurt, so he wasn't pushing the ball. Gabe Davis is one of these guys that takes at least 2 weeks to recover from an injury, and by all accounts goes down softer than many. Like, for instance, if you would give him the same injury threshold as Mike Williams, Gabe Davis would have played 2 games last year. So we look at this and say he's not exactly durable and or reliable. He's someone that you're going to want, as you exactly said, Bob, let someone else eat the bullet. I believe Aaron Rodgers in that same category as well. I don't think, and this has burnt me so many times, but it's tends to be true. I just get the why wrong, but the end up result tends to be true. He's not mentally capable to be in New York, period. Yeah. And it's just not going to work. At some point, he's going to do something stupid, and he's going to try to spell out relax at the end of week 4, and Green Bay accepted it. It ain't getting accepted in New York, and he is going to implode. It's a guy who cannot accept any type of mental backlash his way at all and crumbles. And the Jets should be the division winner of that team. Aaron Rodgers will prevent it, and he's the reason most people think that he's going to win the Super Bowl. So when I look at this overall, Rodgers is one of these guys I don't want any part of, and as a result, as I said last year, Bob, you thought I was crazy for doing it. I don't want a single Jets receiver, and I don't want a single Jets quarterback. I'm doing the exact call-out I did last year with Russell Wilson, except this year it's with the Jets. This is a picture that the media is trying to look pretty and pretty. It ain't going to be anything.
Pretty and pretty. I'll tell you what's pretty and pretty. Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet is on a team.
I like Kmet's situation.
Cole Kmet is on a team that they just improved their wide receiver. You would assume, and DJ Moore.
Talent-wise, yeah.
Justin Fields depends on where he's taking a step, in which direction. But Cole Kmet ended the season as the most targeted player on the Bears. He ended with 7 touchdowns, believe it or not, and over 800 yards. That's Gabe Davis numbers. And that's with a quarterback that was running the ball, it felt like 60% of the time.
Oh, yeah. No, I love Cole Kmet.
So I look at that and I say to myself, okay, well, again, this is 2 groupings now where you
got to go for home runs.
Where I love the tight end situation here is that if you have a league where your flex spot is a tight end and you're looking for an upside, you're looking at Cole Kmet and David Njoku and saying there's a good possibility. There's a good possibility if I have one of them, I'm not taking both. If I have one of these guys and Cole Kmet's going to cost you less potentially.
He will.
Than Njoku, but I think some people will flip them around because Cole Kmet is more.
Oh, see, I think Cole Kmet's in a league of his own. Of all of the tight ends we've discussed, really since 80 on, Cole Kmet's in a league of his own, and here's the exact reason why. It has nothing to do with the talent of any of the tight ends. It has to do 100% with the quarterback. Justin Fields is in the exact same position Lamar Jackson was entering his second year. He just kind of figured out how to read a defense, not really, but kind of. And his best target is a tight end because he's open in the field. So, he knows the receivers are going to take the extra coverage. And Cole Kmet, for all intents and purposes, is more athletic than Andrews. I believe that Cole Kmet, of all of the tight ends that give me anything, I think that he is either the first or second in my tight end group that has a chance of approaching Kelsey level. And I think that he actually does. Cole Kmet is my sleeper of the draft, and he's the one I'm telling you guys, Kmet's the one you want.
Here's a good stat for you. Out of the amount of times that the Bears were in the red zone, inside the 15, not inside the 20, inside the 15, he was throwing the ball 7 times. Caught 5.
That's good.
4 of those were touchdowns.
That's great.
So this is a guy who we now know that Justin Fields knows I can rely on you in the red zone. Now, you have to believe the Bears are going to get to the red zone.
I think they are.
So there's a good chance that out of this grouping of players, he's going to be the guy that we come out and say, like you were saying, you should have drafted him because this is a perfect spot for Cole Kmet. It's after a lot of names at tight end are already taken. And if we look at the names of tight ends that have already been taken or would have been taken, you've got Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, Pitts, Goddard, Waller, Freiermuth potentially. We haven't mentioned Freiermuth yet. Ingram, Njoku, and then you have Kmet. He sits right outside the top 10. But in actuality, it feels like he's going to be.
I think he's going to be a top 3 receiver tight end.
Probably 4th or 5th on this list because the talent level is there. The situation is good. And
I bet he ends up better than Andrews.
And here's the thing. If Justin Fields has improved any, like the media is saying that he's improved.
They have to say that.
Cole Kmet's going to improve with him.
Well, I don't think Fields needs to improve for Cole Kmet to improve. This is why I say he's on the exact same path lane as Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews became the staple of Mark Andrews in Jackson's second year. And I feel that Chicago's offense is going the exact same trajectory that Baltimore's done. And that's why I am so buying the Cole Kmet stock because you can get it down here. You potentially get Cole Kmet in the 13th round, depending upon the rest of your league.
That's what I'm saying.
I love him.
The reason I'm saying is that Cortland Sutton and Gabe Davis are going to go higher if you're in the 11th.
Yeah, the reality is those last 2 round guys are going to fall back.
Cole Kmet's going to fall down. And now we haven't even talked about one of our favorite quarterbacks in the room here, and Kirk Cousins.
I love me some Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is an incredible player, unless you're talking about night games. But he's sitting here and you're looking and saying, okay, well, what did he do? What did he do last year? 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he fumbled the ball a lot, accumulated 2 rushing touchdowns. So there's a lot of turnovers on the table for Kirk Cousins.
There are.
But
there's also great receiving core in front of him.
People like Jordan Addison. People like
Jeff, obviously.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
So, I still think I'm not taking my quarterback yet.
No, I agree with him. Well, first off, the guy who I think is going to be, if he's eligible, I'm not sure if he's eligible for comeback player of the year, hasn't been said yet. But the thing that you have with Cousins is that he's in a division with no defenses. So, and he's also playing the South. So this is the benefit of taking any of the quarterbacks from either of the Norths, is that they don't play defense. And personally, I'd rather have Goff over Cousins because Minnesota's defense is worse than Detroit's. I mean, especially in terms of pass defense. And I look at it and go, he's going to be in shootouts. They are in a team that's very good at throwing the ball. And even if they're losing, he's still throwing it. And most importantly, they just got rid of Cook. So they're telling you they want to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. I think that Cousins is an absolute great find. Like I said, of the 5 viable options from the AFC North and NFC North combined, I love all of them. All of them. And I think that that's something to look at overall. And if you can pick up Cousins in the 11th round, I see no problem with that. But, Bob, why don't you give me the overall breakdown of where you're feeling these guys so we can put some perspective on it?
So my number 1 here is Cortland Sutton. The high upside idea here of Cortland Sutton for me, I am always going to believe in Russell Wilson, despite his number of bathrooms to touchdowns ratio last year. I just want to believe in the little guy, literally. I mean, I want to believe in the little guy. But I think Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, if they can both stay on the field, the situation is set up that he could do so well this year that drafting him, especially drafting him here instead of where you drafted him last year, I think the value is going to be better for you there. Second up is Cole Kmet. For the same reasons we all said, Cole Kmet's there at number 2 in this grouping. I really like the potential of Cole Kmet. Follow that up with Samaje Perine. Out of all of the players that are available, out of the running backs that we have just stated, his situation is clearer because Williams is not as clear. And I would rather take Perine here than Williams that high. Eventually, though, as August rolls around, we're going to see Perine, depending on Williams' situation, shoot up the board.
We are.
If we see that Williams isn't going to play. So you're not going to be able to get him here. So I think that he's realistically probably going to be a 6th-round running back, depending on what Williams' situation is.
But this is what ESPN says. This is what people are going to go off their list with. So, I mean,
they're going to have an updated list, which we're going to get.
I don't think that we will. We will update you as it goes on.
Follow that one up just with the potential of Jackson Smith. I think that in these rounds, high floor, high ceiling guys are kind of what you're looking for.
Oh, high floor, high ceiling doesn't exist anymore. It's it's low floor, high ceiling. Right. That's all we're at now.
That's what you're looking at.
You could take low ceiling, high floor, but you can't get that.
I don't want a low floor. And when I look at some of these guys and what I'm seeing here, Gabe Davis has a low floor.
Sure does. He has no floor.
Greg Dulcich has a low floor, and Damien Harris has a low floor. To me, those 3 players are players that I'm really not looking at because that's not what I want out of my players right now. So Jackson Smith sits right in tow with there. Now the wild card of this whole situation is Michael Thomas. If you want to take a chance on Michael Thomas right now, if you want to take a chance on him in the round before that with the players that we mentioned, if you want to take a chance on him in the round before that with the players that we mentioned in that round, I mean,
some dead rounds.
It's perfectly acceptable to take a chance on Michael Thomas, just like we took a chance on DeAndre Hopkins last year, just like people took a chance. Who was the other wide receiver people took a chance on last year that it paid off towards the end?
It was Hopkins was the big one.
Hopkins, and there was another one in previous years.
Hollywood came back and looked good for people.
these are things that people are going to look at, and they're going to be sitting on Michael Thomas. They're going to be like, and then when you finally draft him, everybody's going, "Oh, I've been looking at him, but I was thinking about drafting him two rounds from now." Well, there's no skin off your back if you take him, because his floor is
out of football.
Is the same as Gabe Davis and Dulcich and Damien Harris in my mind, and his ceiling with Carr could be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So he's sitting at number 4 for me there. Aaron Rodgers at number 5, Kirk Cousins at number 6. So far I got Sutton, Kmet, Jackson Smith, Thomas, Rodgers, or P. Ryan. Where's P. Ryan at? So where was it? Sutton, Kmet, P. Ryan, Smith, Thomas, Rodgers, Cousins, and then in no uncertain order here is Damien Harris, Gabe Davis, and Greg Dulcich. I'm staying away from all 3 of those guys.
That's fair. So mine is different. I do believe that when we all say and done, unless Dalvin Cook goes there, Damien Harris is going to be the starting running back for the Buffalo Bills. And if I get a starting running back in the 11th round, I'm taking it. So I believe him is number 1. Everything I just said about Cole Kmet, that's literally position bias. If I can get a starting running back in the 11th round, end of discussion, I'm taking him. So I take Harris, Kmet. I do love what P. Ryan can bring to the table. I think Jamal Williams, unfortunately, is done in terms of his body being broken. And P. Ryan is definitely destined to be the number 2 there. He also has some traits that are kind of almost maybe Kamara-like. And considering the fact that he's got the coach there who made Kamara, P. Ryan could be something explosive there at the 3 hole. I love everything he said about Cortland Sutton except for his quarterback. But in this group, I'm going to give him the 4. And I give it over the Jigba, and the reason for that is, in general, rookie receivers don't do anything. Now, if you're in a kind of league that you can do keepers or selective keepers or something like that, the Jigba gets a lot more value because you can have him long-term. But as I look at him here for this year's production, I don't think he's going to be worth an 11th round pick. After that, after the Jigba is going to come Gabe Davis for me because, quite frankly, at this point, I'm seeing a lot of 0 floors and or not draftable. Gabe Davis is there. Check that. Kirk Cousins before Gabe Davis. I love me some Kirk Cousins. Then would come Gabe Davis as we're looking at the potential nothings and or I don't want on my team. After Davis becomes Dulcich because the other 2 I don't want to have on my roster ever. I do not want Michael Thomas on my team. I do not want Aaron Rodgers on my team. Both of them have name recognition that someone else can waste the pick on. So that's how my pick goes when it's all said and done.
I want to speak on Harris for a moment here
because
something that needs to be mentioned is Josh Allen's health.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it would be kind of remiss to say that Devin Singletary wasn't good for the Buffalo Bills for the years that he was there. Especially
he's not as good as Damien Harris as a player.
Well, especially in the red zone, where he totaled 4 touchdowns last year. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen took center stage in the red zone for the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
If Damien Harris is going to be the fantasy player you want him to be, he's going to have to get those red zone touches.
I think it's going to happen.
So, and especially the goal line touches.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to. I think that's why they brought him in.
Thinking about
they basically said that. That's why they're bringing him in. They don't want Allen's career to end because he's getting hit when they should be using a running back. They're not stupid in Buffalo. They don't want to truncate their window, and that's why Damien Harris is here. And if you can get him before the rest of the NFL figures this out, you win leagues with this kind of decision. And that's why I love taking Damien Harris because, again, he's the most talented running back on that roster, regardless of where they have him slated right now. He will be their main guy, and I like the fact that he is that kind of power runner. So, guys, if you want to join us in our best ball leagues that we'll be doing here on FanDuel, reach out to us. We'll get you coordinated with it. And if you haven't already, click like, subscribe, and share us with someone else that you want to have win a league.